Plus, as Arizona fights to enforce immigration laws, notwithstanding a huge backlash, as you can see, other states are looking to follow in their footsteps. Arizona sparked a nationwide controversy by making it a state crime to be in the United States illegally. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder now says he's thinking about a lawsuit to challenge the new law. Meanwhile, 13 states are said to be considering laws very similar, if not identical, to Arizona's. Joining us now, radio talk show host Mark Levine and Fox News contributor Tucker Carlson, editor of The Daily Caller. Gentlemen, good to see you. Tucker, thanks. I presume that the Attorney General is going to say, look, this Arizona law preempts federal law, which has jurisdiction over immigration. But I took a look at several federal court decisions, the 4th, 5th, 8th, 9th, and 10th Circuit courts, and they have all said states have concurrent authority, especially where their state law does not conflict with, but rather mimics federal law. So this is probably not unconstitutional. What do you think?
It's probably not. That's an interesting debate, however. That's not the level on which the Obama administration has engaged this, though. The White House and also Democratic members of Congress, the leadership of the Democratic caucus in Congress, has made a rhetorical and political case against this law on racial grounds, basically saying this law is discrimination, prima facie, it's bigoted.
Profiling.
And they're using it as it's profiling, and they're using it as a political cudgel for political ends to bash the Republicans. I personally think it's foolish. There are a lot of non-bigoted, normal people who live in border states who are overwhelmed with the costs of illegal immigration. They want the feds to do something about it. Will they appreciate being called bigots? Probably not.
Mark, you think it's unconstitutional? Why? On the racial basis?
I do. No, actually, I got the Constitution right here. Article 1, Section 8 says that you have to set up uniform rules of naturalization. In other words, Congress has full authority. Arizona can't set up one rule and South Carolina another and New York another. It simply cannot do the job. Now, I'm not saying there shouldn't be a federal solution. I think there should be a federal solution to illegal immigration. But these state laws will be declared unconstitutional, much like Proposition 187 was in California. In other words, it's entirely political. Every single legislator doing this, trying to do this in state after state after state, they're Republicans. They're appealing to a certain base, a certain nativist base. Yeah. They don't want Hispanic votes. They can't get Hispanic votes. And the Democrats are going to use it for politics as well. But it's interesting to me the Republicans are pushing it right now because it'll never become law.
But Mark, if what you say is true, then why have 5 different federal courts of appeal, upheld state actions involving the arrest of illegal aliens? And why was Arizona's employer verification law 3 years ago also upheld by the 9th Circuit, which, by the way, is the most liberal court among the Court of Appeals?
Here's the thing. States can do whatever the federal government can do. They just can't go beyond it. That's why this law is not okay. Right. States can always do what the federal government can do, but in which case they don't even need this law.
Yeah, Tucker, the racial profiling is interesting because I actually read the law and I talked to the guy who wrote the law. And he makes the argument police have to have some reason other than race or ethnicity to investigate a person's legal status. And they can't just pick people out on the street. There has to be another legal cause for the stop, a traffic stop or somebody suspected of theft. So doesn't that then override the racial concerns?
Of course it does. And to hear the so-called constitutional concerns the Constitution waved around from the left is ludicrous. The left objects to any kind of enforcement of immigration laws. Liberals have a fit whenever state lawmakers attempt to deny welfare benefits to illegal aliens. Welfare benefits. And you will hear a chorus from the left saying that is racist. It's racist not to give people who are here by definition illegally welfare. That's not right. They aren't acting out of constitutional concerns. I mean, can we just be real for 2 seconds? Come on.
Mark, isn't it possible that the Arizona law actually makes racial profiling less likely because an officer, if he does develop reasonable suspicion that somebody is in the country illegally, he can't arrest him. He first has to contact ICE to verify the person's legal status?
Well, that's not the way the sheriff of Maricopa County did it, right? He put an American citizen in jail for 4 hours, worked at McDonald's because he thought the guy was illegal. The question is the application of this law. Let me give you an example. South Carolina is now proposing a law that would not racially profile, that says you can't pick a worker up off the street and obstruct traffic. Now, let's say you've got a white secretary and she's picked up by her white boss because they're going to lunch. Do you really think that boss will be arrested? Because if he is, I guarantee you South Carolina's going to get rid of that law in a second. They'll only stop the people who are picking up Latinos off the street. Otherwise, if they start picking up white people, I don't think South Carolinians will like the law very much.
You know, Tucker, the complaint from these states, and now there are 13 others who want to do exactly what Arizona did, is the law exists, the feds just won't enforce the law. When the federal government abdicates its responsibility, isn't it then shifted to the states to utilize their inherent police powers to protect their own citizens?
Well, bingo, exactly. And not simply to protect them from crime, which is, despite everything you hear on the East Coast, really is an issue in border states. In Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, it's a big, big deal. But also from the overwhelming cost. The cost to infrastructure, to schools, to hospitals, certainly in those states. And the federal government has not responded. And, you wish the left would at least acknowledge that. I understand they see votes here, and so there's a lot of demagoguing on it, but it would be nice, at least, for them at least to say, look, we know that you're suffering, and we know that we haven't dealt with it, because they haven't.
All right.
See, here's the problem with crime and costs, if I could briefly.
Votes here, and so there's a lot of demagoguing on it, but it would be nice, at least, for them at least to say, look, we know that you're suffering, and we know that we haven't dealt with it, because they haven't.
All right.
See, here's the problem with crime and costs, if I could briefly.
Very quickly.
This law will increase crime because what it will do is it'll take police from gangs and really dangerous legal aliens and focusing on the people who are harmless. It will also increase costs because it costs a lot to incarcerate these people when most of them are working hard and paying taxes.
Well, I think the Arizonans would love to bear the cost of incarcerating these folks and then deporting them as quickly as possible. Mark Levine, Tucker Carlson. Gentlemen, thank you both for being with us.
Thanks.
Thank you, Greg.
And now over to Shepard Smith in Studio B. What's coming up, Shepard?
Greg, good to see you. Thanks. Top of the hour, all the big headlines of the day, of course. And then I wondered if this caught any of your eyes. The chief executive of British Petroleum, BP, speaking to the newspaper we own in Great Britain, the Times of London, and when asking about lawsuits and all of that coming from people who have lost so much money and lost their livelihoods in many cases,